Welcome to This Explainer. As an academic librarian who has spent, well, far too much time in the stacks, I am absolutely thrilled to take you on a deep dive into the fascinating evolution of libraries. We're going to look at them not just as quiet buildings filled with dusty books, but as dynamic, era-specific phenomenons that are constantly adapting to human needs. Let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting social institutions, the digital transformation timeline, national libraries for preserving heritage, academic and public access, special libraries, and finally, the Modern Librarian's Challenge. Starting off with Section 1, Libraries as Social Institutions. To really grasp how libraries work today, we have to recognize a fundamental truth. They are deeply integrated social institutions. Think about it. Historically, early record-keeping methods were strictly for business, legal, or religious purposes. We're talking about private archives exclusively for the elite. But then, the mid-19th century Industrial Revolution hits, and it completely changes the game. Society suddenly needed a technologically educated working class, and that social need transformed these elite private book collections into the democratic, public institutions we recognize today. Which brings us to a really insightful quote from scholar Peter Brophy. He says the challenge for all librarians is finding a judicious blend of traditional service and courageous innovation. This is essentially our daily tightrope walk. We're constantly speculating on and experimenting with how to balance the timeless preservation of human heritage with the courageous and sometimes risky adoption of modern technology. Moving right along to Section 2, the Digital Transformation Timeline. Let's actually map this out chronologically. We start way back in ancient times with physical archives. Think clay tablets and scrolls. Then we hit that 19th century democratic shift we just talked about, and then boom, the late 20th century arrives. Computers and telecommunications radically reshape how we manage information. Contrast those early record-keeping methods with today's modern era, where we've transitioned from physical walls into these vast interconnected virtual networks. It's a completely different world. And you know, scholar Francis Mixa actually saw this coming. Evaluating the trends, he predicted that the emerging library would morph into electronic forms resident right in your individual communication devices. And looking at current digital trends, he hit the nail on the head. That smartphone in your pocket, it's basically a highly personalized electronic library, completely tailored to your specific needs. All right, Section 3, Preserving Heritage through National Libraries. Now let's break down our library types, starting with national libraries. Born out of the European Renaissance, these are definitely not like your local neighborhood branch. These are government-funded behemoths, and they rarely lend out books to everyday citizens. Instead, their mandate is macro-preservation. They're built to conserve a nation's entire intellectual patrimony, provide system-wide technological leadership, and produce massive, comprehensive national bibliographies. A brilliant case study of this innovation in action is the British Library's Turning the Pages initiative. It's a perfect example of how modern digital tools enable remote global access to incredibly rare and fragile collections that would otherwise be heavily restricted. They are preserving the physical memory while simultaneously expanding access through tech. Or consider the massive scale of the National Library of India in Kolkata. By masterfully leveraging legislative acts like the Delivery of Books Act of 1956, alongside incredible private gifts like the Sir Asutosh Mukhopadhyay collection, they've built a staggering repository of over 2.2 million items. And, uniquely for a national library of that scale, they actually maintain global interlibrary loans and reprography services. That brings us to Section 4, Academic and Public Access. The academic library is often called the absolute heart of the university, and for good reason. Their core mandate is vital, supporting higher learning, e-research, and scholarly communication. But right now, we face a pretty massive structural challenge. How do you redesign traditional, quiet, physical spaces for an age completely dominated by electronic communication and collaborative e-learning? It's a tough puzzle. Then, of course, we have public libraries. Guided by the 1995 UNESCO Manifesto, these are the ultimate democratic equalizers. They provide free information access to absolutely everyone, acting as a gateway to lifelong learning. And this is something people often overlook. They serve as crucial local economic hubs, offering vital data to help their specific communities thrive in the broader knowledge society. So if we contrast these two models directly, the way they adapt to user needs is totally different. While national libraries are mandated to protect the long-term historical macro heritage of a whole country,
Public libraries are focused on the micro. They are constantly and dynamically adapting to immediate localized community demands. They provide the daily democratic access that people rely on.
Moving on to Section 5, Special Libraries and Information.
Now, special libraries are a completely different beast. Arising alongside 19th century scientific societies, these are highly targeted, subject-oriented centers serving specific institutions, like hospitals, government departments, or private industries. Special librarians don't just sit back and wait for questions. They actively analyze, synthesize, and evaluate data. They're proactively compiling critical reviews and anticipating the highly technical needs of specialized researchers.
Finally, Section 6, the Modern Librarian's Challenge. Today, we're navigating a monumental shift toward virtual and hybrid library models. A hybrid library brilliantly blends our crucial legacy physical collections with seamless digital retrieval. And this is huge because it drastically improves information access for incredibly diverse and remote user groups. Someone halfway across the world can now tap into vast collections over the internet from literally any location. But actually integrating these new digital storage solutions creates immense friction. We are facing some very real primary obstacles here. Number 1, overcoming severe, and I mean severe, budget limitations for this expensive new tech. Number 2, redesigning our physical spaces to accommodate new electronic realities. And number 3, retaining our direct users, who are increasingly turning to alternative, individualized digital networks for their scholarly communication. Which brings us to the core tension of our entire profession today. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought for this explainer. As our repositories become increasingly virtual, perfectly tailored to that tiny screen in your pocket, how will we collectively protect the physical soul of human history? How do we ensure equitable access to the knowledge society without entirely losing the shared physical heritage that built it? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me today.